As you're probably aware, as I keep saying it now in every single video, but I want to hit 10,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed and you enjoy my content, then make sure that you do because it's free and I love you forever. But let's get into the video. Hey guys, it is Winky here and welcome to another Big Finish review, something that I've not actually done for a couple of months now. So what I like to do is I'm obviously going to be reviewing all of the Paul McGann stuff, but in between I want to mix it up and talk about other things, whether that is a different Doctor Who story, just something else that Big Finish do. But this time I thought, let's talk about the very first Big Finish story, I believe it is, and it's called The Sirens of Time. I think what's interesting about a story like this is seeing this early start to Big Finish and seeing like how they properly began. And I've got to admit, this is a really interesting way to start it. It isn't perfect, but it does have its merits. For those of you who don't know, The Sirens of Time features not one, not two, but in fact 3 different Doctors. It features Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker and Peter Davison. Now the thing is that I really found interesting with this story was the fact that yes, these 3 Doctors are in there, but for the first 3 episodes you're only with one Doctor. So the first part is with Sylvester, the second part is with Davison, and then the third part is with Colin, and then obviously in the last part they do all come together. Now for me, I thought from a narrative point of view that was actually quite an interesting thing to do. Now this story is very sort of timey-wimey. I hate that that's a thing, but it's the only word that I can use to describe what's actually going on in this story. So each Doctor is involved in a different scenario in each of their parts. It's not like they're all in the same place at different periods or whatever. So you've got Sylvester, who is on a different planet and he's interacting with this guy who used to be an old war criminal and he rescues this girl from like quicksand or something. Davison is in, I think, the First World War and he's on a German ship, and then Colin Baker's at this, like, how do I word it? It's like a conference, like this big conference thing that he's sneaking into, and there's a character in each of the parts who's played by the same person, and throughout the entire story you recognise their voice. The Doctor seems to recognise this person as well, but doesn't quite know where they've seen her before. This would of course play into a much bigger part during part 4, which I think does wrap everything up as well as it can, but it is a bit messy, I've got to say. But one thing I will say at this point, if we're going to be talking about the villains, which I am, and I admire Big Finish for this actually, because when you're doing your first Doctor Who story and it is a multi-Doctor story and you're going to show people what you can actually do with these characters, I think it would be very easy to fall into the trap of, right, well, this is our first story, we'll have the Daleks involved, or we'll have the Cybermen involved, or the Master, someone like that. But they don't. None of those villains are in this story. They go with a totally original villain, which, if anything, I think works better for Big Finish in the long run, because it shows that, look, we don't have to rely on already established villains to make great Doctor Who content. All of these Doctors on Big Finish will eventually meet the Daleks and the Cybermen and the Master again, but right from the get-go, this is a brand new villain and we're showing you that we can write our own villains and that you don't even need to visually see them. We've just written them so well. And I think to a certain extent they did. I like the concept of the Sirens of Time. I like part of the execution, but like I say, that last part just feels a little bit too sloppy, and it feels like there's 1 or 2 twists and turns that didn't necessarily need to happen. It's like the story is like, aha, but it's actually this, but you thought it was this, it's actually this, and then it's this, and then it's it, and it's like, cut a couple of them out. I think you could have made it a little bit more straightforward. There's a character in this, oh, what's he called now? It's the Transmonster or something. Transmissioner. Commissioner, I don't know, I can't actually remember his name, this is fucking embarrassing. Anyway, he's voiced by Nicholas Briggs. He's got like a generic sort of evil voice and you can kind of picture him in your head. I think that character is good, but I also feel doesn't 100% work. Again, he's part of that too many twists thing and it's like, huh? But the good thing is, there's a couple of things in this story where they do call certain characters out on their bullshit. So for example, this character, the Commission whatever, what is his name now? He sounds a bit like the Predator, so we'll go with the Predator, where he's just like, oh yeah, if you set me free then I can go back in time and I can kill her and I can stop this from ever happening in the first place. And the Doctor's like, hang on, why didn't you do that before then? So I do like the fact that this story does address some of the obvious questions and answers and it does expand on them a little bit, but like I say, I think there's a couple of things here and there that is a bit too much. I feel like you're trying a bit too hard. Gallifrey is involved in this story as well with the Time Lords, and I think, again, initially it looked like it was going somewhere pretty cool, but then it felt like they've done a little bit too much. I will say that about the Sirens of Time. It's definitely an ambitious story and I'm all for stories being overly ambitious and they don't quite meet those expectations, or at least when they don't deliver on them, because at least they've tried. I'd rather a story be over ambitious and not quite reach it, as opposed to a story that has no sort of drive in it whatsoever and isn't really that well thought out, and even then they don't succeed with it. I like the fact though that because there's 3 incarnations of the Doctor here, they play with the different types of characters that they actually are, because even though they're the same person, these 3 Doctors are very, very different, and they do address that, and it's quite an interesting angle that I've never really thought about before, where they almost sort of say that each one of the Doctor's incarnations is a different side to his personality. Now that for me, I actually really like. As a concept, I think that's pretty cool. Again, they don't really go anywhere with it, and Colin kind of dismisses it, and he's like, well, I'm all of these things all the time anyway. I also like the fact that, like I said, that it is 3 distinct parts before they all come together, and I do like the different stories. Personally, I think my favourite was possibly Davison's part. I mean, I love the World Wars. I think they're a really interesting time period for various different reasons, and I think putting the Doctor in a situation like that is again quite interesting, especially when it's not like he's with the Allied forces, he's with the Germans. There is a lot of mystery to this story. Like I say, some of it doesn't always work, but it's the mystery of who is this girl, because she's got different names and clearly is voiced by the same person, so it's like, how does this all fit together? And I've got to say, it isn't perfect, it is flawed. I think it is needlessly complicated in places. However, as first stories go, the one thing that this is, out of any of the things that I could say about it, is enjoyable. I enjoy the performances, I enjoy the different story aspects, I enjoy the characters. I just really enjoyed this as a listen, and like, I was on my way home from work and I was like, yeah, this is a really good way to kill 2 hours of time. Do I do ratings for Big Finish? I don't, 7 out of 10 if I do. I think I do, it's been that long. Like the ratings matter anyway. In the comments below though guys, let me know what you think. The Sirens of Time, have you heard it? What did you think? Love it, hate it, anywhere in between? Let me know. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe for more. Social media and Patreon links will be in the description below as always. And if you follow me on any of those things, I'd absolutely love you forever. But until next time guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye.